All right, what we're going to get into right now is one of the biggest keys to getting over the hurdle of what we need to do to change our lives. And this can be a pretty big concept, but I'm going to try to make it as simple as possible so that you can really digest this and help you take that leap that you need to take to make your life the way that you want to make it. Okay, so first I'm going to show you kind of how the mind works and really how things ultimately keep you in this what we call feedback loop of results. So the first thing that we need to understand is that everything that we're living in right now is dictated by our paradigm, okay? So it's dictated by our paradigm. And when you're thinking about your paradigm, all you need to know is your paradigm is basically your beliefs and your perception. It's the lens in which you see the world right now, okay? So that's why I have these glasses here. You got to pretend and imagine that these are the lenses in which I myself see the world, okay? So whatever I choose to see, whatever my mind focuses on, whatever my reticular activating system is really focusing on, okay, that's the part of your brain that actually makes it so that you can focus and not freak out and focus on everything, but just the things that you think about, okay? So it's your thoughts, your beliefs, and ultimately leads to your perception, okay? So your paradigm is really just how you view the world, okay? And we can think of it like a pair of glasses, okay? Now, can we change the prescription? Can we update our paradigm? Yes, totally possible, okay? Many people that have been working with me for a while have done that, right? And I'm shooting this video tonight just to help people that may have never met me before really understand how to go through this and how to make these shifts so that they can actually take on a challenge in their life that may have been holding them back for literally ever, okay? And it all starts with where we are right now, the awareness of our particular paradigm, okay? Now, your paradigm ultimately leads to your thoughts, okay? So whatever your thoughts are about yourself, about everything in your life, all of those things, that's all controlled by the beliefs that you have and ultimately the way that you see the world, okay? So your paradigm leads to your thoughts. Now your thoughts ultimately lead to your actions. Okay, what we think about, positive or negative, are going to lead us in a particular direction where we want to go, okay? And they're going to get us to do things, and sometimes our thoughts are made up of fear, okay? And fear, and we'll talk about fear in a second. So fear is important. It's actually what keeps us safe. So our mind's literal number one job is to keep us safe, okay? And it's really a good thing because a long time ago, if we didn't have that, we would have either gotten eaten by an animal, okay, attacked by a tribe, right? That's why with cavemen, they lived in caves because they had all these walls to keep them safe, right? And they only had one opening, so they only had one thing to guard. So there was that level of certainty, like I don't have to worry about things killing me as long as I keep guard of this one thing, right? And now that we don't have to live like that, everything can seem like a thing that's going to kill us, right? Even if it's exercise, right? You ever go on an exercise and it's just, you go and exercise one day and then you get home, you're exhausted, right? The next day you feel wicked sore and you're just, your body's like, stop this. What are you doing? Your mind's saying, stop this, and what are you doing? Some people break through it with something called willpower, which we'll talk in a second. But some people, their thoughts are like, hell yeah, I totally agree with you. We should never go exercise again, and then they don't, okay? So your thoughts ultimately dictate your actions. Now, your actions obviously lead to results. So what you are achieving and getting in this life. Because whatever your actions are right now, that's leading you to what you get and what you've always gotten, right? And that the results actually feed back into the paradigm. Because if you think about it, what we do and what we do or don't do, and the results we get or don't get, make it so that whatever we believe. So for example, we'll use weight loss as an example, right? Your paradigm right now is, I'm not good enough to lose weight, I can't lose weight, I've tried before, it never works. So that leads into your thoughts, right? Your thoughts are always like, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, it's not gonna work, I've tried before, it doesn't work, everything that I do, it's just all these things, right? And then it leads to these actions like, why even do this? And then you end up self-sabotaging yourself action-wise. It leads to poor results, and then it feeds back into your paradigm, proving to you that you are right. Okay? So that's why we need to shift some of this stuff in order to get to where we need to go. So fear makes it hard to change, folks. Fear makes it hard to change. And right now, I want you to think about what your number one fear is. What's your number one fear? What do you think the number one thing that's holding you back in this life to make the changes that you need to make is? What's your number one fear? Okay. Number one fear. It's different for everybody. Okay, but it all comes back to this one thing, right? So when I talk to people, they tell me all different things, right? They're like, this is my fear. I have a fear of abandonment, right? Or I have a fear that I'm going to make a mistake, okay? I have a fear that I'm going to be a failure. I have a fear that I can't lose weight. I have a fear of eating healthy. I have a fear of not being successful in my job. I have a fear of whatever, you keep going, right? So there's all these fears that everybody has, okay? And your fears all lead to this one gigantic fear. It's this one thing that is holding every human hostage, it's holding every human back. Okay? It always comes down to this. This is always what it is, every single time. Every single time. And it's funny, originally I didn't think it was for me. So my biggest challenge in my life is I have trouble with perfectionism, right? I love to be perfect. I love to try to get things perfect so it looks really good, and I have trouble sometimes delivering things and taking action before it's perfect. And that's something I've really had to work on. And it all comes down to this, folks. This is it. Ready? It's the fear that you're not enough. You're not enough. Alright? I have that fear too. Everyone does. Alright? And if this is hitting you right now and you're like, you're right, don't worry. You're not broken. This isn't something that's new, that's just you. This is everybody. Okay? And I'm going to tell you why this is everybody, or a majority of the people on the planet don't feel like they're enough. Because it's something to do with our childhood, right? And even if we had, in our minds, if we think we had an awesome childhood, there still might be things that we didn't realize were going on when it was there, okay? So, what it comes down to is most of us feel like we're not enough to lose weight. We're not good enough to spend money on ourselves to accomplish our goals. Yet we'll spend money on our kids, our spouse, or our family and friends. We'll spend money on them all day, but we're not enough to do it for ourselves, right? Or we're not enough to take care of ourselves. So we're not enough to do things and take priorities and focus on our priorities, okay? So there's a lot of things that are built up in here, and it is different for everybody, but it all comes to this thing, okay? Now let me tell you why this happens, why this not enough thing happens, okay? Because, and this is just data, this is the science to date. For when you are a child, the data shows that majority of children, for every 8 negative comments they get 1 positive comment. Okay, so for every 8 negative comments, they get 1 positive comment. So they're constantly battling to try and receive that positive feedback, that positivity, so that they can feel like they're enough. They're good enough, right? They're good enough for mom, or they're good enough for dad. And usually, if you really think about it, this is a great question to ask yourself is, whose love did you crave when you were a child? Whose love did you crave when you were a child? That one took me a while, I'll be honest with you. So if it's like, I don't know right now, Matt, totally get it. Okay, but it's definitely worth thinking about, because once you really realize and you think about it, you're going to be able to understand, okay, you know, it was my mom or it was my dad. And then you start to think about, okay, well, what did you have to do? Okay, what did you have to do to get that love, right? Did you have to accomplish certain tasks? Did you have to do certain things? Did you have to be things that you weren't necessarily, that you weren't really at that point, okay? Did you have to be more than you thought you had to be to feel like you were enough in their eyes, to earn their love, okay? That's my baby in the other room. So really, and this is, just so you know, this is not any parent's fault. They don't know, right? Most parents aren't psychologists or understand this concept, okay? Now that you do, maybe, you know, give your kids a couple more positive compliments, right? But the real piece here, folks, is I'm just trying to explain why this happens to us, why all of this occurs, okay? Because we have a feeling like we're not enough, right? That paradigm, that we're not enough. And this is a good way to know if this is kind of you. So, for example, right now, if you have a fear that you're not enough, right? And if that's something that's challenging you, and you have that lenses on, right? So when I talk to people, I ask them, you know, do you feel comfortable getting compliments from people on anything, right? We could literally be talking about anything. Do you feel comfortable getting compliments? Maybe, you know, like you've lost some weight and then you get compliments. And what happens when you get those compliments? If it doesn't line up with your paradigm, right? If it doesn't relate with how you see yourself, right? It will literally, the compliment will come on, Matt, you're looking great. Have you been working out? And it's like, boom, and it bounces right off, okay? Because it doesn't align with me, and it's not something that I believe in myself. So even though they're saying it, I don't technically believe it, okay? And I may have trouble absorbing that compliment, right? Because I don't like, it doesn't align with how I see myself, because I don't see myself as enough, right? If that's the case for people, okay? So if someone's like, for me, like I said, my thing was perfectionism, right? If that's it for me, you know, they're like, Matt, that looks perfect. It's like, and it bounces right off. Because to me, I have a certain way that I want it, and I'm supposed to see it a particular way. But if you think about it, most of the things that you do in your life, you're the only one that knows if it's perfect or not, right? I had to come to that realization. I'm the only one that knows that I made a mistake. So I had to break through that cycle and start to understand that. And it had nothing to do with believing that I could do it, right? So a lot of us think we have to believe in ourselves in order to accomplish a task. That's not true. It's not true, and we'll talk about that in a second. But what happens, so this is the thing. Let me tell you how we go into self-sabotage, right? So our paradigm, right, let's say we start trying to make a change in our lives. We start trying to do something for ourselves, and we start trying to get better. And our paradigm's like, okay, this is our paradigm, you know, we're a little overweight or we're unhealthy at this point, and we want to get to this next point. So we start trying to do something. We start trying to get better. We start trying to feel better. We start trying to eat better, exercise, whatever it is. Okay? And then we get to the point where we're like, oh, we've been doing so good, right? So our thoughts are like, we want to change, you know, and then we start exercising, eating well, and then it results, and then it feeds back into our paradigm. And what happens though, what sends us back where we need to, where our original paradigm was, it always puts us back there, is we get a case of I deserves it, okay? A case of I deserves it, okay? So when you get a case of I deserve it, it's basically like, this is what happens. So your old paradigm is like, I want them to come back to where we feel totally safe and comfortable in our lives. That's when we're, overweight. We really like being there because it's comfortable, right? So Matt's been working really hard, and I'm worried that he's going to keep going there, and I'm going to lose my paradigm, right? Because your mind's number one job is to keep you safe, like I said. So it's going to say, Matt, you know what? You've been working really hard. I think you need to take a week off from the gym. Or I think you should totally treat yourself with some, pizza and some ice cream, because you've been working wicked hard, and it's totally worth it, and it's something that, you deserve it. You've been working really hard, you've been taking care of the kids, you've been doing, all of this extra work on the side, and you just deserve this, okay? And then you're like, you know what, mind, you're right, I do deserve it. And then your actions start going in that direction, right? Those actions lead to a couple more actions. You're like, you know what, I'll take another week off. You know what, it's the classic, I'll start this tomorrow type thing, right? So those are the actions that start to happen, and then it leads to the new results that you're getting, which is not great, right? And then it feeds back into the paradigm, and it proves to you, you know what, you were making all this headway, but of course you were going to self-sabotage. Of course you weren't going to get where you wanted to go, because that's what you always do, right? That's what you always do. You're not ready. You're not willing. You're not committed. You're not invested, right? And we can break this cycle. We can break this cycle. And it just takes one thing, okay? We can totally break this cycle, and it takes one thing, okay? And the way that we break this whole cycle is we have to change our thoughts. And that's why I focus on mindset first, okay? So we have to change our thoughts. So if we change our thoughts and we catch the negative thoughts that are putting us in this vicious cycle, it will get us to where we need to go. Because that will change our actions, that will change our results, and that will officially change our paradigm and raise our standards and our patterns and beliefs and habits, okay? So the way that we do this, okay? First way is, it starts with willpower, to be honest with you. Willpower is not something that will last over the long term, but for short-term things, to just start to develop a habit, right? That's what we need to do. Willpower helps us to build habits, okay? That's why when you push through so say you exercise, you get sore, but your willpower is like, you know what, it doesn't feel great right now, but if I keep going, I'll eventually get there. Or, I'm tired of eating healthy, and yet you're like, but I'm going to do it, and your habits start to play on that, then you're going to get those actions. Now, other things to make this area stronger, right? Coaching. Somebody there to help you. Support from either your coach or other people, right? And accountability. Okay, so if you have a lot of these things in place, it's going to make it easier to start having those thoughts that are going to retrain your mind. So this is an activity I do with people where if your thoughts start going negative, right? You can't do this. Why do you think it's possible? You're going to lose weight and you're going to gain it all back, blah, 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 right? You need to talk back to your mind, and you need to let it know what's up. Who's the new sheriff in town, okay? So this is what you got to do. When that happens, whatever negative comment your mind decides to share with you, you say these 4 things. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. I will blank by blank so I can blank. So whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. So a lot of people, it's a weight loss thing, or a fat loss. I will release 3% body fat. So when your mind's like, you can't do this, you're going to say, thank you for sharing. Because your mind, remember, it's trying to protect you. That's the fear-based thing. It's trying to protect you. It's not a bad thing. Okay? But we just need to let it know what's up now. So thank you for sharing. I will release, and you do this out loud, I will release 3% body fat, okay, or if you want to do pounds, go by all means, go for it. So I will release 3% body fat by blank date, whatever date you're going to accomplish it. You need an end date, because if you don't have an end date, then you don't know what you're trying to accomplish, right? Okay, or you get an end date in everything else in your life, and yet we don't set end dates for ourselves. So when do you want this due by? And it's so you can what? What's your why? So I can play with my kids more. So I can have more energy throughout the day. So I'm not sluggish in the afternoon. So I am, but whatever it is. Okay? And if you continually remind yourself what you want rather than what you don't want, this is going to start to shift. Things are going to start to happen. And you are going to start having new thoughts. Okay? And it takes a little bit, folks. But that's where, using that willpower for that short period of time to create those habits and have some coaching support and accountability with that, then it's going to lead into good quality actions that are going to start to solidify the things that you actually want and get where you want to go, so that we can get the results we want, and the results start increasing. And those results lead into a new paradigm, right? So I find in the middle here is where transformation starts to happen. Okay? And your paradigm is your identity. So some of us, we get to results and we get results and we have this transformation. We're in this transformation zone. And then what we have to do is we have to go from transformation and try to transition from transformation into exactly what our identity is. So we're trying to make that who we are. So for example, you see those people in the snowstorms still running, right? They go out and they're running in a snowstorm. You're like, how the hell does that person do that? What makes them do that, and why can't I do that, right? That's what we think in our heads. It's because that's their identity. That's their paradigm. They don't think anything of it. That's just what they do. They put their shoes on, they go outside, and they run. That's who they are. That's what they do. That's what their paradigm is. And you could do that with anything. We just have to start with willpower, build some habits, turn those into our actions, get the quality results that feed back into that you can do it. But this is the thing. If you keep setting goals that you're not achieving, right? Most of us have this paradigm right now that we have right now because we set goals that are unattainable, right? We're like, I want to lose 100 pounds in 6 months. It's not a great thing for you, right? So I want you to really think about, what do you want? Why do you want it? And how are you going to get there? Okay, what do you want? Why do you want it? And how are you going to get there? Some of you it's working in the Potential You program. Some of you it might be something else, right? It might be something, maybe, I don't know what it is, but a lot of stuff we work on here, right? But it's whatever you want, we need to write it down so that we can focus on it and start making it our willpower. And you don't have to believe that it's possible yet. You don't have to believe it. You just have to do it, right? You just have to get that willpower to do those, to focus on those habits. And it takes for some people, it takes between 21 and 100 days. Okay, so I like to meet in the middle and do about 90 days to build a habit. Okay, for people. That's why I do 90-day chunks throughout my programs. Because those are the chunks that help us to solidify our pieces of the puzzle. And we have these big goals, and then what we do is we chunk them down into smaller, more digestible things. So we're not hitting grand slams every day, we're hitting base hits every single day. And those are our habits. Our habits are the key to this puzzle, folks. Okay? And it's my job to help support you in your habit and what you're trying to accomplish. So that is why habits are so important. So figuring out, what are we doing on a day-to-day basis to get to where we want to go? And I like to focus on one habit every 2 weeks. One habit every 2 weeks, so that it helps to build. And then think about it. This is how cool it is, right? If you do say you did 1 to 2 habits every 2 weeks, okay? 1 to 2 habits every 2 weeks. You have between 28 and 52 new habits at the end of the year. That is a completely different person. Your paradigm will have shifted. And then your belief system of what you think is possible will be blown out of the water. But it starts with that one habit. And that one piece of willpower, that one step in the right direction, okay? Willpower doesn't last forever. It's something that we just need it for a little bit just to get the spark going and just to light the fire to get it to start to build. And then we have everything else that's going through it, okay? So you are enough to do this. You are enough to accomplish the tasks that you want to accomplish. And you just have to have the faith for a small period of time and have the right people around you to get to where you want to go. So that's where your support system comes into play. Okay? So I hope this helps. I hope this helps you understand what's going on. If you right now are having negative thoughts, right? Your brain is trying to talk you out of something that you know is going to help you and change your life. Okay? Many of you have gone through this, right? If you're in the Potential You program right now, you know your brain tried to talk you out of it, okay? If you aren't there yet, right? If you're just watching this and you haven't jumped in the program and you're like, I don't know, I don't think I should spend this money on myself. I don't think I have the time to do this. I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'm willing. I'm committed or invested. Whatever it is, right? Your mind is trying to keep you safe because your mind is awesome and it's trying to keep you alive. And unfortunately, it's holding you back from getting all the things that you want to achieve and all the things that you truly want to get in this life. Okay? So, you don't have to believe in yourself. Just believe right now that you are enough to focus on you, to put your own oxygen mask on first, to make yourself a priority. You are. And it seems scary, because your paradigm may have told you for so long that you are not, and that you don't deserve it. And that's a bunch of bull. I'm here to tell you that right now. Every single one of us are absolutely freaking amazing. We are a 1 in a billion chance to be on this planet. And every day that we're not spending in our most authentic, epic selves, what we truly want to be, we're wasting time. So don't waste any more time wishing and wanting and dreaming. Let's start getting some willpower, getting some habits, start taking some action, start doing, showing up, taking packed action, persistent, accountable, consistent, and trackable action. Get some epic results, review them, keep that circle rolling, and once that snowball gets going, folks, it's going to explode into just a life that you never thought was possible. But it starts with one step. One step. Are you ready to take that step? Are you willing to take that step? Are you committed to take that step? And are you invested in taking that step for you? We'll find out. Have an awesome rest of your day.